Towards Asela Waidyalankara, cyber security expert. Asela, what are your thoughts on the online safety bill?
So, thank you, Shamir. If you look at the bill, first of all, it's quite interesting to see the bill itself was gazetted on September 18th, whereas today is September 27th, and yet we've received a message that this is to be taken up in Parliament in the order paper. That itself is a point of concern. Secondly, I'd like to focus on a few things. One is perhaps, you might slightly differ from me, the good, the bad and the ugly. Let's talk about, I know it's a little too early to say these things, but let's talk about some of the good as well. There are certain provisions that prevent doxing. Now we know gender-based online violence is a problem in the country, and I do agree that there are sometimes laws within the penal code itself. However, certainly we can take additional legal safeguards and measures, and certainly there is precedent for that. So there are provisions here that cover doxing, that cover certain aspects of that cover protection of children from online harm, and certainly when it comes to elections, and we are hearing certain things that there might be elections next year. So, to stop inauthentic behavior on social media, to basically stop influence operations that happen, that may try to influence the outcome of election. We've seen that happening globally. So there are certain aspects of that are included in this bill. Let me go to the bad. The bad, of course, is the executive appoints the people. There is no vetting. There is no security of tenure for the appointments. There is a very criteria set out here, but we know that because there is no vetting and there is no transparency. For example, I would have liked something like the Constitutional Council to have a review of some of these appointments, but I'm told that requires a constitutional amendment. But certainly, so those are the bad, and of course, the wide interpretations that are covered in this bill. The ugly is the way that they've gone out, the stakeholders that they've gone with. For example, they've identified internet service providers. They've identified something called internet intermediaries. Now that's very curious language, and I believe what they're trying to go after here is social media platforms, content aggregators, search engines, and even if they wish, messaging platforms. Now this is a very dangerous trend. Of course, it puts us in a very fragile footing, because we are not in the greatest places when it comes to our financial stability and so on and so forth. So the question remains, can we actually mandate some of the things that we are asking from this particular law with social media companies like Meta, when they do have their own code of conduct, when they are actually right now aligning to global standards. For example, the EU disinformation project, Meta is part of that. So are the other social media companies. The US has very stringent disinformation guidelines. So in that atmosphere, I don't think it will succeed, because we are trying to mandate these things for these big tech companies. Additionally, we are requesting big tech companies to register with this particular commission.